The battle with wildfires across Greece continues as firefighters struggle to contain the catastrophic flames. The country's biggest ever evacuation of tourists on inferno-stricken roads has prompted pandemonium on the streets and in the airport. Tonight, Australians remain trapped as they try to flee the burning island.
A tourist haven, now a hellscape. As wildfires trace a path of destruction through paradise, residents on the Greek island of Rhodes resort to extreme measures to defend their homes, arming themselves with whatever they can in a desperate bid to extinguish the flames. Australian tourists and expats were among more than 19,000 evacuated from Rhodes over the weekend. 14,000 kilometres away, Brisbane woman Cleo Manolis is staying by the phone. Her dad, cousins, aunties and uncles are all currently on the island.
Devastating. Everyone's heartbroken just to see the beautiful island of Rhodes just being torn apart by this wildfire.
The Greek PM has declared the country is at war with fire, with dozens of blazes still burning across the country.
As dark as the conditions are at the moment, everyone is out there helping wherever they can.
On the ground and in the air, the fight continues. Incredibly, no deaths have been recorded so far, but wildlife has suffered greatly. Firefighters have managed to save some homes, but they are struggling. Soaring temperatures doing little to douse the flames.
We have seen potentially the two hottest days on record in Europe in history, in recorded history, this week.
Holidaymakers
Forced to flee the popular island during their peak season.
They rely on this tourism income every year, so whatever they make in the summer, they use in the winter.
Left to wait for a flight home. Australians in need of consular assistance are being urged to follow the advice of local authorities as residents pray for the flames to subside. Natalie McGarry for 10 News First.
Dozens of people have been killed and thousands more evacuated after fires erupted across Algeria. Almost 100 fires across 16 provinces are burning, rapidly overwhelming the more than 8,000 firefighters brought in from across the country and Europe. Among the dead are 10 soldiers drafted in to bolster exhausted firefighting teams. Northern Algeria has been experiencing a record heat wave in recent days, with temperatures reaching 48 degrees. Israel's right-wing government is celebrating having passed deeply unpopular judicial reforms and are now promising there are more to come. In the lead-up to and after the vote, tens of thousands of protesters faced off against riot police, mounted officers and water cannon. A camp has been set up between the Supreme Court and Parliament, with protesters vowing to keep demonstrating.
We can expect to see even larger and more intense protests in the coming hours and the coming days, so these divisions within Israeli society are just likely to deepen.
Netanyahu claims that because the country's senior judges are not elected, their power over legislation must be restricted. But many see this as a move to lessen the judiciary's power, especially in light of the Prime Minister's ongoing fraud and corruption trial. Russia's campaign against Ukraine's grain exports has stepped up, with the Kremlin launching drone attacks on storage facilities right on NATO's doorstep. Now, the attacks were launched at night, several hitting packed warehouses, either destroying or contaminating the thousands of tonnes of grain inside. The facility is just 200 metres across the River Danube from Romania, a NATO member and whose president has condemned the attack. Some ships still waiting to be loaded moved away from the port to moorings closer to the Romanian border for protection. 11 people have been killed, most of them children, after a gym roof collapsed during a heavy downpour in the northeast of China. Only 8 survivors were pulled from the wreckage. Police have arrested the managers of a local construction company which was using the roof as a dumping ground while working on a nearby building. In another blow to Russia's already embattled LGBTQ community, Vladimir Putin has now signed into law a ban on people officially and medically changing their gender. The act also outlaws trans people to marry and adopt children. Russia's ongoing crackdown is being billed as the safeguarding of the country against Western anti-family ideology. America's Justice Department is now suing Texas Governor Greg Abbott after he blocked part of his border with Mexico with barbed wire and floating obstacles. The department claims his use of these large orange buoys and kilometres of barbed and razor wire is endangering lives. There are now reports that several people, including children, have drowned after getting caught in the barriers.
He continues to do this really cruel, unjust, inhumane ways of moving forward with a system that has been broken for decades.
Abbott responded saying, "Texas will see you in court, Mr. President." Twitter's rebrand to X is all but complete, with the traditional blue signage removed from the company's San Francisco headquarters. But Musk's move isn't proving that popular, with many questioning the future of the social media giant.
So it's a completely irrational business and brand decision. But there was no good story left, I think, for Elon on Twitter. There was no good news. There was nothing about his Twitter acquisition that would make him look like a successful business person.
The chaos that's marked Musk's tenure as owner was highlighted when police arrived to stop workers taking down the signage because they didn't have the right permits.